Yeah. Okay.
recording.
Yeah. So what it was that what you're actually doing at the moment has got that participatory quality about it in terms of other people. Yeah. It's just, if you could just say just a little bit about how you're experiencing and seeing what's going on.
Well, let's go back a little bit. When I was working with the young carers, I felt that we'd got to the point where participation was such that young carers felt they could participate, they were excited about participating, and they understood what impact their participation would have. And sometimes we had to be honest with them and say that that it was limited, that participation. But once they understood what they could impact upon, they became very excited and they would get involved. And I don't really recall having a negative time with participation that I was involved in. I saw a little bit with the organisation that I worked in when it became a little bit tokenistic. So now I've moved into an organisation where participation to some extent has been tokenistic. Not because the organisation doesn't believe in participation, but because the structures that are in place at the moment mean that sometimes you'll get somebody, say, in the council who has got pressure from above to consult with carers, get the information, make sure that they're involved. So they click their fingers, come to the care network and say, we need to have carers involved in this. They're not really sure what to do about it, so they get carers that they know work quite well and think probably will get involved, and they do. And they're brought together, but it's never been very clear, therefore, what they're there for, what impact they can have, what are the boundaries of that impact, how they'll get feedback from their participation and what's happening. And so what happens is they're kind of left to make assumptions about how that will be, and then people become quite frustrated when that participation, when it's not clear, when they've thought that they could impact on more and they're not told that they can't, and then things don't happen. They don't get feedback about what impact their participation is having. And partly what I've been looking at is, as I've started, is the fact that actually there's loads that we can do to improve that, and some of those things are quite simple, and I think they're about just putting the basis into the participation, so that when carers come together, they know what they're there for, they know what they can expect, they know what impact they'll have, they know how they're going to get feedback once they've been involved to see what impact they have had. And then that keeps the energy going, because I think we all get the same, don't we? If I'm involved in something and I feel like it's not going anywhere, or I feel like people aren't listening to me, or I feel like I've had unrealistic expectations of it, then you kind of get frustrated, and you might get angry, or you might just give up, or you might you have different emotions about it. So what I'm working with at the moment is to try and encourage that. And then, that's with the carers, but I also think that's the same with the staff. Now that I'm in charge of quite a large, well, not a large staff team, but about another 12 staff, it's about making sure that they're participating, that they're involved in things, that they know what they can influence, what they can change, what can happen in the organisation, and they can take ownership of it. And I think that is creating a good energy as well. And you can kind of see that where some of the things haven't worked in the organisation before, it's where it's either been tokenistic or it's been told in a kind of fait accompli way, and people don't feel that they've got any power, if you like. They don't feel like they've got any impact that they can make, influence.
Yeah.
So
well, that's really clear.
Yeah, and it is really exciting, and I think it's really exciting to be in that position where you can make that influence. And it's felt a bit like a brave new world coming into this position, because whereas I've always felt very much like I've had to fight for everything to happen, all of a sudden I'm getting quite a lot of yeses, and that's a good idea, and okay then, let's do that. And so I can start making these changes and these influences. And something I've always been very clear on is that the more power I get, the more I can empower, because you can only really empower somebody to the extent that you have power yourself. And so now I feel quite, one of the reasons that I wanted to take this position was that I felt that I could empower people more than I could in the position I was in before, because I was disempowered in the position I was in. And here I have more power. There's still blocks and there are still things that make it difficult. But that's about trying to work more closely with the people that have got even more power, if you like, to make that kind of continue to happen.
Okay, now, I think that just on the clip that you've got, it is so clear in terms of some of the constraints that you were feeling were existing, and then your work to actually transcend those constraints. So I think that's a really powerful 5 minutes. Get it on YouTube. No, really, there's nothing...
Yeah.
Actually, switch off. There's nothing...